Okay, let's get started. The goal today is to take an Autocad drawing and bring it into InDesign and produce it at the appropriate quality so your presentation look good. So in Autocad, this drawing has been produced on all the right layers, has some hatch pattern, has some hatch inside the walls, for example, as infill. And here is a layout tab has been formatted to 36 by 24. So I want to right click and go to Page Setup Manager. You can see there's the name of the tab, here's Modify, and there's the size of the sheet we're currently on. Now I can't see my drawing from the model space because I haven't created an M view, or the one that was here I deleted. So I'll make a new one, M view, enter, and I simply draw a rectangle. And there's the drawing. I usually want to take this rectangle and stick it on the layer that does not print, like the layer that you make called depth points. Here, the non-printing layer. I'll move it over a little bit. Hit escape. I'll also tell this drawing to be at the right scale. So I'll click on this, M view, right click, use properties, and here where it says the scale of the drawing, here, I'm going to change that to 1/4 inch scale. So when it prints, it'll be at 1/4 inch. So, and there's the drawing currently. When I right click and go Page Setup Manager, and I modify this layout tab here, you'll see here I've already have some settings for the size. The layout tab is going to get printed, which is what I'm on. Scale is 1:1. So this is 24 by 36. It'll print 24 by 36 because this says 1:1. Pen settings have been turned on, and here I've got my pen settings CTB file, which was created using this button here. Color number 8 has been set up as a 50% screen, which is why it shows up gray. Everything else is 100% screen, and every single one of these drawings is going to print black. I can hit the first color here, hold Shift and select them all, and I can force them all here. Assuming you're going to use 13 colors, I can force them all to be black. This is what it will print as. This is the color in Autocad. And each of these have line weight set up, so some look thicker and thinner than others. That's been set up, assuming you all understand how to do that. I'm going to move along. Save and close. Okay, close. So I want to print this. But because we're using Photoshop and or InDesign, we want to make sure the quality of this is as good as possible. So there's one thing you have to do here. When you right click and you go Page Setup Manager and you modify this layout tab, you want this here, AutoCAD PDF, to be set to the high quality PDF. That'll create the best quality. Then when you go to PDF options here, you'll notice that the quality here is in fact 600 DPI, dots per inch. That's a really good high quality image. This is going into Photoshop. Photoshop is a raster program. So in Photoshop, this would be a 300 dots per inch or higher quality. This is 600, which will look really, really good. I hit OK. Hit OK. I close this. I now want to print this file. Right click on the layout tab, choose plot, hit continue, and then here are all the settings we just described. I hit OK, and I'll stick it in a folder here. I'll erase the previous copy I had in there. Okay. Here's an example of the file opened in Acrobat. And you can see it looks fairly well. But there's some text here across the sides and top, and maybe a border that you want to get rid of. So that's what you can do in Photoshop. Okay, so here we'll open up the AutoCAD drawing that was produced as a PDF. I'll go File, Open, up to the PDF, hit Open, and then here I'll accept these settings. There. PDF comes in with a transparent background. So here at the bottom, under layers, I will choose new layer, and I'll move it, click and drag below this layer. This layer here, if I double click, is the PDF layer. I'll call it PDF. This right here is the white background. I'll call it white. And with that selected, I'm going to go edit, fill, and fill it in with white. So I can see my PDF there. And with the magnifying glass, I can zoom in and notice that all my quality of my lines are appearing here and all the line weights. So this looks great. Double click on the hand to zoom out. So in AutoCAD, these text appears around your prints. So in Photoshop, I can go to the PDF layer, this layer here, and simply select those with a rectangle and delete them or anything else I don't want to see. There, all been deleted from the PDF. Now I could take this image and go File, Save As, and save it as a JPEG file and bring it into InDesign. I can hit Save, for example. You'll get a little message here. And because I want the best quality, you're going to want to make this the highest quality possible. And you're going to hit OK. And that makes a JPEG that can be brought into InDesign. Now, if you want to make some changes to this file, you can do some other things. So for example, let's say I want to select these gray walls and make them a different color for my presentation. That's great use of Photoshop. When I say select color range, I can ask the drawing to select various colors that are important to me. So if I take this tool here and I change the fuzziness to 1, and I use my little eyedropper here, this eyedropper here, and I put on top of where one of my walls would be, for example, here at the bottom right where the white is, that's where gray is located. If I click on that and hit OK, it should find all the gray in my entire drawing. If that fuzziness, select color range, the fuzziness was higher, it'll find other things that are close to that range. The higher you go, the more it selects things that are similar. But if you want things that are exactly that color, then this number should be pretty low. For example, 1. With these all selected, I'm going to make a brand new layer, because if I did anything here, it'll erase my AutoCAD file. A new layer, I'll call it color. And here under edit, I'll choose fill, and I'll fill in these gray walls with the color of my choosing. So for example, if I want to choose a bright color like this, I hit OK, and suddenly those walls are now that color. I'm going to select on the screen to unselect. So when I zoom in, or Z on your keyboard, you can see, and now my walls are a different color. Maybe that's part of my presentation because I have fonts and other objects in my presentation that are orange, so that this would make them all very similar and look like they belong together. I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to do this again as a JPEG. Because I already made a previous JPEG, I will call this color. Hit Save and choose the maximum quality here. So let's test those two JPEGs in InDesign. So here's InDesign here, File, Place. Now place, this is the JPEG. And again, just click on the screen, it'll be the right size that you exported from AutoCAD. Click. And if you click on it and the quality looks awful, you can always just right click, go to Display Performance and High Quality Display here at the bottom. If it still looks awful, then you've made some serious mistakes in your production. So these are coming through as a JPEG file. And you can kind of see close what the quality looks like. Double click on the hand to zoom out full. Now, if I'm going to delete that, let's try the other one. File, Place, Color. Double click. Again, place it on the screen somewhere upper left. It's nice and big. Escape, escape. Zoom in with the magnifying glass and make sure the quality is there. And the quality looks pretty decent. You expect these little pixels to show up here because this is imported from Autocad. Double click. So you can take these drawings and with selecting them with this tool, hold Shift and Control on the PC and drag that corner down, and making this drawing smaller will make it better. However, you have to be careful about these hatch patterns because they might start making your drawing look very muddy. These lines here. If you're going to make this drawing a lot smaller than its normal size, I would suggest maybe you turn off that layer in AutoCAD and don't bring in the hatch patterns because it's not going to help your presentation. Because as this gets smaller, those lines get closer and closer together, and it might muddy your presentation depending on what look you're after. So you have to be careful of how to use hatch. Double click on the hand and zoom out. Choose the select tool, click delete. Now let's compare that to a file place of the actual PDF, which is here. Double click, click on the screen here, and when you use the magnifying glass, you again can see the PDF file is better quality. Look how sharp these lines are. They're no longer pixels. This is a vector file. It acts like an AutoCAD drawing. So shrinking this might have better results than shrinking the PDF file, the JPEG file that we just looked at earlier. So the choice is yours. They both come up with pretty good results. This will be sharper, but they'll both print well. It all depends on what you're after. To fix this text, you do it here. But in this file, InDesign, you can't change the color of the walls. So that is your, those are your options, basically. And obviously here in InDesign, because of the way the software works, I can choose this command here, direct select, grab these edges here, and use them. Grab that line there. And use them to crop, hide any portion of my drawing. Depending on which one you're grabbing, you got to be careful which line you're grabbing here. There you see the little line command shows up here at the bottom. For example, there, you cropped the drawing. Choosing this arrow here, the selection tool, I can make that drawing bigger. Shift Control, I can make it larger, but it'll be inside of that cropped window. So ideally, you want to position your drawing on the sheet first and then decide what the scale is. Otherwise, it's going to scale it here. You can scale it using this tool here, for example, and just have that. Right-click, copy, right-click, paste. That'll give you a copy of that drawing. And again, using these tools here, for example, you can expose other parts of your drawing. Let's get this out of the way. Let's grab this, move it here. You can expose parts of your drawing. Maybe you want to show the living room area. For example, there. That could be part of your presentation as well. These are the same drawings. And you can do this as much as you like for the sake of your presentation. Just be aware that you, when you're using a PDF file, you can actually make this bigger than its original size, and you'll notice that the quality remains the same. But if you're using a JPEG, it can be the original size and smaller. The smaller it gets, the better it gets. But you have to watch out for hatch patterns, like lines that represent the floor patterns, for example. You might want to hide those from AutoCAD. One last tip, if you want to, you can print these walls all as black and white, simply. So here under the layer tool, here is model tab, here are your layers. You can simply, for example, turn off your floor hatch patterns. And it seems like these are on the wrong layer. So right click, let's see, properties. What layer is are these on? The layer is called a wall hatch. Well, these are on the wrong layer. So obviously, if you were to hide the a wall hatch pattern, you'll lose all your floors too because they're placed on the wrong layer. Ideally, those aren't on the wrong layers. I'm going to delete these, for example. If you want to move this to the right layer, you simply right-click on your floor hatch. Let me do that. I'm going to undo using Control-Z. I can tell this under Properties, right-click Properties, to be on the A floor hatch layer. I can tell this one here, right-click Properties, to be on the layer called A floor hatch. And then they go to the appropriate, this one as well. They should have been on the A floor hatch layer. And finally here, confirm, yes, that should be on A floor hatch layer. Always important to make sure things are on the correct layers. I will then print this in this example. Right click on the layout tab, here's the layout tab here. When you right click on it and choose plot, continue here, you can make a quick change here. Under your pen settings, you can tell color 8, gray, to simply be 100% screen, which will print it black, just like every other line. Save and close, hit OK. Here, I'll call this black and white. And that'll make a black and white version of your file here. Again, that work can also be done in Photoshop. It's just extra work. And then when you leave Photoshop, they'll need to be turned into a JPEG file of the highest quality. But just be clear, when you import and place your JPEG files, here's the JPEG file here. I am going to crop this down to size. Here's the line tool here, right along the edge, and I can click and drag. And if these lines get crooked, I can hold Shift to make them straight. And I'm going to pan over. So here's the hand. Let's pan it over here. Select, move this over for a second. Using this tool, grab that line right there and drag it up. Hold Shift if you want it to be straight. But I want to make a quick comparison here. This is slightly bigger. So I'm going to select this, Shift. Holding Shift Control to shrink this down a little bit, just to bring them into about the same size. This kitchen, that's around the same size. This is a JPEG. This is PDF. Take a look at the PDF again. Zoom command right here. Click in the center of that picture. And you see the sharp lines coming in from Autocad here. There aren't any pixels. Double click on the hand. Magnifying glass over here. Look at the kitchen counter here. These are pixels. See? So it's up to you to determine which one you're going to use. The only trick is if you're going to use JPEGs, make sure that you always shrink the file. Never make that file bigger. It actually gets sharper and nicer as it gets smaller, except for hatch patterns like the floor hatch, which you want to avoid. These files here from AutoCAD as PDFs, if you make them bigger or smaller, pretend you're using AutoCAD because the options will keep the drawings the exact same quality without those fuzziness that you find in pixels. That's a PDF file. You have to decide which option is best for you. And that's it for today's presentation. Okay, good luck. And please share any comments or questions in this post.